enforcement
Well,
full-time
we
equivalent?
we currently fund 6 code enforcement officers.
Right, and you're going to take some of this money to hire more?
No, this is to continue funding those same six.
All right. And would that be considered operational expenses, is having those people hired?
No, well, for code enforcement, it would be.
Well, how
But
does that?
we fund that on the CDBG side. We've been doing that for several years now.
But I don't want anybody to go to jail. Your number one item here, A, on my page 4 of 123, it says no CDBG funds can go for the support of operating expenses.
Which page are you on?
Page 4 of 123 of the book you gave me.
Okay, that's the city council policy number 9, and no, that wouldn't be the same as the operational costs. That's a policy that was passed that remains. Let's see. That remains that we just basically follow as guidelines that were passed years back.
So,
Well, no, I'm a little confused. If this is a guideline, that's not part of the CDBG guideline and rule?
Which letter were you at? I'm sorry.
Page 4 of 123, City Council Policy 9A. No CDBG funds will be authorized to applicant agencies for the support of operating expenses.
Oh, that's for the nonprofits. Not for the departments or interdepartments. Those would be for nonprofit agencies. So, for example, the last two that I mentioned under the CDBG program, Nueces County and Corpus Christi Hope House, ideally they couldn't ask for operating costs.
But we can.
Right, well, we can.
So, Mayor, also just a little clarification if I can. David Blackman, Police Department. So those 6 positions that are funded by CDBG, so 5 of those are code officers and 1 of those are administrative staff, but they are utilized in the CDBG area. So they're not a blanket employee that's used outside of the funding area. So they are in those designated areas to be used. So that's how we're able to use those.
Well, I mean, maybe at some point we need to look up policy number 9A and to get some clarification, because
Okay.
on the outset, you're telling me you're paying 6 code enforcement, whether they're in the CDBG areas or they're not in the CDBG areas, and we're paying for them as an operating expense. The policy says that CDBG money can't be used for operating expense.
Well, the policy specifically is for applicant agencies, so it excludes the city, if you will. Just the nonprofits.
Well, if it's good for the goose, shouldn't it be good for the gander?
Well, we can definitely take a look at that policy.
I just don't want anybody to get in trouble.
No, definitely
I
compliance.
was going to ask for more money for code enforcement, but then when I saw that, I said, well, that's an operating expense. You can't do it. Then I got to think, well, how are they doing it?
Well, it's allowable for operating expenses for us, and it's just
for government, but not for nonprofits.
Right, and it's just a policy that was set by council.
Well, okay. All right. I'm sorry to hold you up. Keep going.
Okay. And lastly, the staff recommendations for the home program are as follows. Home administration technical assistance, that's 100, oh, there's an error there. It's actually 105,560, and that covers 1.5 FTE. The single family rehabilitation loan program for $500,000. That is for the residential demolition reconstruction program. Accessible housing resources for $110,380, which is for a tenant-based rental assistance program serving participants below 50% AMI. The set-aside, we're proposing to set aside $524,000. These are for 2 projects that are currently going through the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs tax credit. The first one is the Casa de Mañana. Those tax credits should be determined by next week. Thereafter, we will be returning to the Corpus Christi Community Improvement Corporation, which is you folks, to enter into a resolution to enter into agreement there. So we would be supporting that project project once the state determines that. And they have a really high risk or high probability of getting those funds. And the second one is Fish Pond at Corpus Christi. This is a 4% housing tax credit, and that's being reviewed by the state currently. So the same will follow. We will be on standby to determine funding availability at that time. I stand by for any questions.
Anybody have any questions?
Mayor, I do have one question.
Okay.
Back on there, you had one for MHID for $52,126. Is this in addition to what we provide as a city to that, or is this what we actually provide?
This is the amount that they've requested for that specific project, for the construction project. They're proposing, right now they currently have one parking space available to folks that go there, so this will be proposing to turn some of their space into 18 spaces that'll also serve as a half basketball.
So this is separate from what we provide them in
Correct.
terms of funding?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Garza.
Rudy, you're expecting that we're going to need to set or use some dollars for the set-asides for the tax credit projects?
Right, well, what we have available,
What do we have at the top end and what do we have at the bottom end? Well, what's the most that we would need to put in? Do we have a ballpark number?
right, well, they understand that the request typically for the RFP, request for proposal, is $300,000. We do try to support as much as we can, so even though this is a dollar amount that I had coming today, we also get program income that we get, so it is very likely that we'll be able to fulfill what their request is. Even though we're setting aside 500 and, let's see, even though we're setting aside currently $524,000, let's say by the time the Fish Pond at Corpus Christi is able to start moving with their projects, and we already fund the Casa de Mañana, we'll have not just the remainder, but a little bit more as we get program income coming in.
Okay, is that something you can communicate with us at a later date if we do?
Oh, yes.
Pass this today?
Right, anything coming forward, I of course have to come to you guys.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hernandez? Or was that an old light?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Any comments from the public? This isn't a public hearing, is it?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Oh, it is a public hearing.
yes.
So anybody got anything to say? Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Thank you very much for your positive consideration of all these requests. I'm Judy Telge at 3554 Santa Fe. I'm president of Accessible Housing Resources, Inc. We are reaching down into the lowest income folks to get them housed with private developers, private properties, to be able to rent affordable housing and also accessible housing. So I thank you very much for your positive consideration. I appreciate staff working with us so nicely.
All right, well, thank you. Yes, someone else coming? Did I open the public hearing?
You asked for public comment.
So that opens it.
Well, it'd be nice if you said open the
In case
public
there's any
hearing, that'd
doubt,
be
the
really
public
clear.
hearing has been open.
Okay. Can I go ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Mayor McCone and council. My name is Deborah. I'm with, on behalf of Corpus Christi Hope House and staff and our board members. We just want to let y'all know and express how appreciative we are of your support through the years and ask you to support our current application. We would love for y'all to come out and have a grand tour of our shelters. And just like any other agency here, we too are trying to help the homeless, the women that are pregnant with nowhere to go. You know, without your support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. Okay, so thank y'all very much.
Thank you. Any other comment? Any other comment? Seeing none, then we'll close the public comment period, close the public hearing, and don't see any lights on from the council to entertain a motion for adoption of item number 19. There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Who seconded? I'm
opposed?
sorry, we couldn't hear. Thank you, Ben.
Eight. All right. Well, I think just in the interest of getting something done, that gets us, all right, down to number 20, a regular agenda item, a resolution for amending the city council policies. To add policy 28, award guidelines for arterial and collector streets on concrete or asphalt pavement. Specifying concrete pavement be used if a construction costs not more than $125,000 per lane mile of the asphalt pavement alternative, and who's going to handle this?
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. Albert Quintanilla, Street Operations Director. We're providing you an updated PowerPoint presentation. We went through the original information that was provided to you was from Friesen Nichols study. They came up with $125,000. Street Operations did our own independent study to come up with our costs to reflect to see if we could match with $125,000. And the presentation I want to provide to you is that information, which we did concur. Oh, shoot. Well, that's a different
Okay, so
presentation up there. But a little bit of background information. In June of 2017, there was an informal policy adopted to select concrete pavement bid for construction cost difference over asphalt if the bid was less than $100,000 per lane mile more than the asphalt pavement bid. So that was in 2017. Utilizing a Friesen Nichols study, some FHWA research, and other reference materials, the Streets Department developed a cost of $125,000 now, based off of a 30-year design life for asphalt and for concrete both. And so today's action would formalize that $125,000 cost differential from this point forward. We came up with a pavement maintenance cycle. And this maintenance cycle was developed off of FHWA information, TTI information, and other resource on desired schedules for maintenance on different types of pavement, asphalt and concrete cycles, doing ultra-thin every 7 years with asphalt overlay at 15 years, and another ultra-thin, and on the concrete pavement, doing concrete pavement repairs, some diamond grinding, and then the forward deal at the end, doing another more concrete pavement panel repairs at the 24-year level. The main schedules there show quantities that were estimated based off of the research information, and this just shows typical pavement failures you can expect at over time period. And even though it says at 6 years we would do 2% of the pavement having potholes, we're not going to wait for the 6 years to start filling potholes. We'd fix them as soon as they started going on there. But we figured at 6 years we'd for surely concentrate on that roadway, so that at year 7 we'd have the roadway prepared for that ultra-thin course on top of it. The same thing with the concrete pavement, doing it the same way. The maintenance costs, we went ahead and used maintenance costs from last fiscal year. Since we haven't really let any concrete pavement repairs currently, we're using concrete repair costs from last fiscal year, from December. We're using the same thing for asphalt. Since we didn't want to compare apples and oranges, we wanted to use the same time frame, so we use the same cost time frame for both of them. And we come up with overall cost for asphalt pavement for 30 years and for concrete over 30 years. And you can see we came up with $627,000 for asphalt, $501,000 for concrete pavement, a difference of $126,000. Friesen Nichols said $125,000. I said we're close enough. We'll stick to the $125,000. So basically, our staff recommendation is to award construction contract based on the lowest overall cost for the 30-year design life of a roadway. So we take the asphalt construction bid, total overall bid, add a 30-year maintenance cost for asphalt, and come up with a total project cost, and do the same for concrete. This would only be for arterial residential streets. It would streamline our process to go ahead and get the contracts awarded, and it would be non-binding. If there's other extenuating circumstances, we could go back and recommend for other reasons. Extenuating circumstances being the higher anticipated number of truck traffic out there, or other reasons where we would think we need to have one alternative over the other. So, for example, if you have a roadway project with total lane miles of 3.55 lane miles, we would take the asphalt bid, base bid, say in this case $14.25 million, add the 30-year maintenance cost, which is $625,000 for that 3.55. We'd come up with a cost of $16,468. Do the same thing with the concrete, but with a different maintenance cost. We'd come up with a bid of $16.375. We would choose the concrete since the concrete is less than the asphalt. The policy recommendation is to award project based on total lowest bid cost. The lowest cost would be the bid cost plus the 30-year maintenance. The 30-year maintenance would be $625 at this point for asphalt, $500,000 for concrete, and then the projected 30-year maintenance cost, because they change, we're proposing to come back every year in May. As a part of our budget process, we go through and calculate our budgets based off what our costs are, so we can update that, and we update those figures to figure out what the 30-year maintenance costs and revise that cost for next year as well, and see if we need to adjust our $125,000 per lane mile cost.
All right.
With that, I'm open for any questions.
All right, so basically, this has been the staff policy, or the department policy you've been using, then it comes to the council, and we get to talk it over for the last 2 years, and we're just now confirming it, so when it comes back, we don't have to go through those discussions again, basically, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other comment or motion? Mr. Hernandez?
Okay, I know I've asked some of these questions before, so I want to make sure that we're perfectly clear on this. In the Friesen Nichols report, there was a decision matrix that they recommended. They weren't specific as to what it would be in being a deciding factor outside of what it would cost,
Right.
such as average daily traffic and then percentage of heavy vehicles. But there was no question, there was no information as to what that should be as a deciding factor. Are we looking at, 10,000 average daily traffic, or 20,000, or what would be the deciding point? Also, what percentage of heavy traffic or heavy vehicles, like buses? And I'll make a key point on the buses. Even on our asphalt roads, if the RTA comes in and they'll put a concrete pad
Yes.
in that asphalt road where their buses stop. Okay? So there is an aspect of this for heavy vehicles. What would that percentage be that would override your cost points?
I wouldn't know if that'd be a percentage or anything else, because the ADT and truck loading, the ESOL count is what it's called, the axle loading, is taken into consideration when we're doing the actual pavement design to begin with. And so when we come up with the thickness of asphalt we're going to be using, or the thickness of the concrete pavement we're going to be using, we use all that information in there to begin with, and to developing the design for what we're going to be using, on for calculation of the construction cost, what the design we're going to use, either asphalt or concrete. It's taken into account when we're doing our pavement design.
Okay, let me step back here, because you're
Yes.
changing things here.
Yes.
In terms of what it would equal in terms of concrete versus asphalt, I mean, you could design asphalt to be, 6 inches thick and meet that requirement of what it would be for concrete. I mean, what's your threshold here in terms of the difference between that designing that, if you're looking at your average traffic count and heavy vehicle traffic?
Well, it'd be more, not really just there's not a target number, because they're all projected traffic numbers would begin with. And so what we're saying is that we're more looking at a condition is it's an industrial corridor where you have heavy trucks going through there towards an industrial corridor at all times, then it'd make more sense, because our confidence level in those ADT numbers might be shy, because we don't know if there's going to be additional development in there and we might get more trucks. Okay, then in that area, let's lean more towards the concrete. But if we know it's a business corridor where there's not going to be as much traffic, it'd be more bus traffic and maybe just delivery vehicles, and we're not going to have we have a greater confidence level on our truck volumes, then we can go ahead and choose the alternative, sticking with the asphalt over the concrete, depending on which is the better cost. But if we're not sure on the true confidence level on the future development on that location.
Well, I mean, like, aside from areas that are already developed, right? You have a traffic count and
Yes.
a percentage of heavy vehicles.
Right.
If you're factoring that into design, what is your decision point then? Do you not have a decision point?
No, we don't have a decision point.
Either one of those?
No, we don't have a decision point. We design it for either one, the concrete and the asphalt, based off that same traffic, and let go to the bids for the decision point. At that point, we decide when the bids come in.
Then why was the recommendation from Friesen Nichols to
I'm
take
not
that
su-
into factor?
I'm not sure why.
As a
Friesen
factor.
Nichols.
Well, Friesen Nichols had basically 3 bands. They had, if the difference was below 87,000 or something in that neighborhood, they were saying go with concrete. If it was above something like 150,000 or 175,000, they said go with the asphalt. But they had a area in the middle, this gray zone, where they said you need to take into account these extenuating factors. Now, they didn't stipulate exactly how you would do that, but they felt like you could tilt the scale one way or the other based on certain aspects, like number of driveways, truck traffic, things like that. We felt like that was probably not a good way to evaluate bids, that it would be a whole lot better to just pick a number and stick with it. And the staff recommendation, we picked a number in the middle of that sort of gray area that Freese and Nichols had identified as being the deciding point, because we felt like it should be understood by everybody going into a bid, how the bid is going to be evaluated. And we didn't want to be doing a bunch of analysis post facto to determine which bidder would be successful.
Okay, and also on your, in here, you used for an overlay cost an amount of $35 a square yard, but as I recall, it's costing us $42 a square yard. Now, the $35 a square yard was on the Freese and Nichols presentation, the low end, and they had a high end in terms of that decision matrix between 96,000 and 156,000. So why did you use the $35 per square yard?
We just used it as a convenience number because that's what we, on a previous bid contract that we saw in the average low bid prices, reflected also what TxDOT had was close to $35 a square yard. So that's why we used
Okay,
that
but
number.
what are we paying?
Right now, under the most current contract, I believe it's $42. But we don't have current concrete prices that have been installed.
So the $35 is the actual price that we paid for 2018?
Yes.
So all his numbers are 2018 numbers. His and the other numbers that we use are TxDOT numbers, but they're all from 2018. So rather than using 2 different years, we said, let's just use all 1 year's worth of numbers. So they're all actual 2018 numbers. The $42 is a 2019 number. And we didn't have 2019 numbers for concrete.
No.
So we stayed with the 2018 numbers. That way we could have consistency in numbers.
Well, it's my thought that if we're going to do these evaluations on these projects, we should do them contemporary, have contemporary numbers or have the most recent information. It seems like we could do this analysis by project every time it comes up, so you give us the numbers as they currently stand. Obviously, petroleum prices affect concrete. I'm sorry, affect asphalt.
Yes.
And last time I checked, petroleum prices have gone up here recently.
Yes, they have.
And so it seems like we need to do this. And then plus lane miles, you're using 12 feet. Not every road is 12 feet.
No, but for consistency, we could use the 12 feet for consistency because
I'm with you. I'm with you. But it just, I understand for decision-making processes, it seems like we could do this analysis by the specific road. Like, for example, Morgan is 11 feet per lane on the lane mile.
We would still use 12 feet.
So it's one of those things where you may have some differences. I mean, a small amount of money, a foot can make a big difference if you're talking miles of road.
And yes, it does. It could make a big difference, but there's a lot of other factors involved over the 30-year life cycle of a project that could make a lot of difference as well. And so determining, well, on the concrete, if there's the other factors to consider are utility locations, the bus routes and stuff like that. So we'd figure out balancing loads and stuff like that. And then, the total cost of the project is, there's a lot of, in other words, there's a lot of apples when you're juggling a bunch of different apples. And so you can always say, oh, I'm going to change this apples for this project. And so we just want to say, let's make it 125,000 per lane mile. And that way we're consistent at all times and not changing the number of apples we're juggling for this project or the number of apples we're using for that other project. We would do it consistently all the time.
Well, I mean, isn't that what we're doing here? Comparing apples to oranges in terms of concrete and asphalt?
Not really. We're doing 125,000, the 600,000 for concrete and the 620,000 for asphalt and 500,000 for concrete. But we're going to do that for all projects.
And those numbers, based on our slide on page 9, that $125,000 difference would be evaluated at one point in time annually. So that last bullet on there says the projected 30-year maintenance costs will be updated each May. So today we're using $35 a square yard, but next year it could be different, but all the numbers will be updated at one point in time. I think one of the key things I've heard from the industry is that they want some certainty on how we recommend a project. So if we're changing the numbers every day, every week, it's going to be tough to know what the end point is or the goalpost is. So we'll update them annually. And so today it's 125,000. Next May, the difference could be up or down that number based on actual pricing from the current year that we're experiencing.
Well, I'm of the mind that this should be done on a per project basis, but if not, I mean, we had somebody at public comment say that concrete might be the way, how we budget it. And then we go from there and have it a discount from on asphalt if we budget it from that perspective. So we actually have that in place. And even if we don't get to a point where we do it on an evaluation on each project, maybe arterials we have it on the high end. Maybe it's 150 on that side, and on collectors it's 100. I mean, I don't know what the option is, but I just think with traffic counts, high traffic count areas, and heavy truck traffic, those should be concrete. But that's my thought. Thank you.
I think that's actually a good suggestion, budgeting based on that higher figure, because that $125,000 additional that we're willing to pay is really not currently budgeted.
All right, Mr. Garza.
Well, I guess it makes me feel better when you talk about us looking at the numbers every year. Now, some of the things that you wrote in here that I got issues with is that we look at the maintenance of the asphalt, maintenance schedules for the asphalt pavement. I remember when we went and we discussed the street user fee and the street preventive maintenance program that we talked about when we do a road. Years ago, we started in 2010 or 2008, started talking about how big the road program was, and it was $1 billion. And this is just for collectors and arterials. For residential streets, it's still another $1 billion. But at that time, the problem was $1 billion problem. And we thought, well, we might be able to get to a point where we can fix it. And if we got to have design standards, it's going to take us out 30 years. And at that rate, it's still going to take us, we still needed to invest like $33 million a year,
Yes.
which we're not doing right now. We're doing closer to $55 million. So we're probably off of that about 18 to 20%. But in order to get the 30-year life expectancy of asphalt road as per design,
Yes.
new design standards we had, I guess the short answer was we had to go in and do a seal coat
Right.
on streets every 7 years,
Yes.
and then do an overlay at 15 years,
Right.
and do a seal coat at 22 years,
Right.
and then that would take us to our 30-year life. So this asphalt pavement schedules here don't really reflect that.
It shows at year 7 doing an ultra-thin, at year 15 doing an 1.5 inch asphalt overlay, and then at year 23 doing another ultra-thin.
Ultra-thin, okay, so you're
So doing
using the ultra-thin as a...
And in replace of the seal
you're calling
coat,
it
yes, on seal, this was our last presentation on the SPMP, we switched on arterials and collectors, we would use the ultra-thin instead of the seal coat.
Okay, then the question is, since that's the program that we originally decided we were going to go on in order to justify the street user fee, the SPMP program and everything else, from the 2008 and 2010 and 2012 projects, I know some of them didn't get completed up to, say, 7 years ago, but how many of those projects are we actually following the maintenance schedule that we said we were going to follow when we started charging people the street maintenance cost, street user fee?
We have them set up on a schedule already, and part of our PCI data collection information shows the historical information when the last roadway was last seal coated and overlaid, and so we use that when we consideration for when we're programming preventive maintenance in the next cycle cost.
Okay, I'd like to just see us go back to the 2008 and 2010 bond programs and actually show where it is that when we did a seal coat and when we've got them scheduled for an overlay when the point comes. So we'll make sure that we're following what we...
So that we're keeping up with our promised schedule.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, sir.
That's the whole point. And that's so that we can get the 30-year down. I think, again, if we're going to look at it every year and figure out what the true cost is, because there could be some outliers here in this concrete pavement maintenance cost here.
Yes.
If you did diamond grinding on an old road like Waldron Road and you changed out a panel, replaced a panel, but you don't do that but every 20 years, then that's a bit of those costs are a little bit of outliers. But we've got other roads that we've done in concrete since then, including what we've done on Staples, what we've done on Custorus and all those kind of things. So we can actually start to see what kind of maintenance, what we're actually doing in terms of maintenance. Now, we haven't even come up with a program And I know you were going to work on that.
And we are working on that, because right now we're working on projects to do some work on Staple Street, because of the concrete pavement there, we've noticed some cracking and some joints that need repairs. And so we're working on developing a cost for a contract for that. So by next May, we'll have an actual contract we can use for
That's
reference
great.
numbers. Another one is Walden Road, you just mentioned as well. There's some issues, we're waiting on some storm sewer repairs to be done, and once the underground is fixed and everything else, then we can come back and fix the surface afterwards, and that'll give us better contract numbers as well.
Yeah, as we move forward, we should have better numbers so we can actually
Come up
make
with
sure that
accurate
whatever
numbers, yes.
criteria we're using is good, you know?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you. Albert, how many districts are they in Texas? Highway
Textile districts?
Yeah.
There's 25.
25, and you were a district engineer?
Yes, I was previously a district engineer in District 22.
Okay, and you oversaw this study, this evaluation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and Mr. Edmonds, how many times have we done this?
Had this discussion in council?
No, where independently, how many studies have we done?
I would say 4. We have
So
two
this
staff members
is
in
our fourth
engineering that did an analysis, and we hired Freese and Nichols, and then Albert
The
did
fourth
his own.
study. And if we go to a per job basis, will it add to our engineering cost? When you go to the consultant?
It would add to the level of effort, yes, sir.
Okay, so we will be paying more money, rather if we go to a per street basis rather than an annual, because we're going to be updating it. I guess we've got a lot of expertise. If we've got a former district engineer, I don't know how many hundreds of millions of dollars you have overseen and our capital improvements on there. And I brought this up. For contractors, clarity is very important. And anytime that they see us up here talking about a bid where, you know, we 9 concrete versus asphalt experts, it creates uncertainty. And I think it creates, well, do we want a bid? And then one last thing, how much time did we spend on completing a job? A concrete job's going to take longer with it. Did you factor anything in that about, so we had an extended conversation on how we can, persecution and progress, concrete versus asphalt?
No, I didn't put that in the calculations because it depends on the type of concrete. If we have a ideal candidate for a concrete roadway would be out when it's out in the open, didn't have intersections, didn't have driveways, and we could do a continuous reinforced concrete, and we'd have a real smooth pavement like there is out in West Texas.
How many continuous concrete roads do we have?
None.
None. Okay. So that's really out. We're
That's out,
going to be
yes.
doing on a panel by panel basis.
Panel basis, yes. And it's a lot rougher.
If we go in and we have most of our underground.
Yes.
So if we have to make an underground repair, what is the difference? Did you calculate that in? Was that part where we have to go and rip a bunch of panels up?
I didn't calculate that difference because the biggest issue there is that the repair cost for the replacement of the pavement because of an underground utility is charged to the utility departments. The streets doesn't take care of that cost.
Oh, okay. So the ratepayers get to pay for it rather than the taxpayers.
Everybody gets to pay for it.
So you
still.
didn't calculate that?
I didn't calculate it because it's going to be the same whether it's going to be asphalt or concrete. It's still going to cost the same.
Yeah,
it's not going to cost the same, but it'll still be the same repair.
It'll be the same repair, but does a concrete repair cost more than an asphalt repair?
It does, but the good thing is you don't have to do concrete repairs as often, so it all balances out in the long run.
I'm talking about a utility repair.
It will cost more, yes, sir.
Okay, but we're going to tag that to the ratepayers rather than the taxpayers.
Yes.
Okay, so that wasn't in the calculation?
No.
So did Mr. Van Vleck work a calculation there on the difference between concrete and asphalt? Okay.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Roy?
I think Councilman Garza covered a lot of what I was going to ask, but I just want to clarify, as far as the concrete pavement maintenance plan right now, we're still kind of working that out as a...
We've got the plan worked out. We're working on the implementation phase of it next. Do good contracts.
Okay. So historically right now, if I were to ask, if I was to look at any given road from an asphalt perspective, would you be able to tell me up until, year to date, what the cost has been for maintenance for that road?
We could look through our maximum information, come up with the records for it, yes.
But you can't do that right now based on concrete?
Because we don't have the contracts let out, no, we wouldn't have that concrete, no.
But we should be able to do that in the future?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That was it. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Guajardo?
Thank you. I think we can go on and on about the pros and cons of both. You know, there are definitely pros on concrete versus asphalt, certain
Yes.
areas, and not, you know, maybe some better in certain areas than others. But in the end, I understand what you're saying. We need to have something, some continuity in what we're doing. You know, this came up in April of 17, I think, originally.
Yes.
Where I asked for this I guess, explanation. In what came back from Freeze and Nichols, the life cycle, this is the only thing I would like to add, the life cycle cost analysis, which I understand, you know, comes within that $125,000 number, it does say the real cost program considers the initial cost of construction as well as costs incurred for future anticipated maintenance activities. I feel that in our resolution, we should add that particular line because it includes future maintenance future anticipated maintenance costs. And where I would suggest we put it would be award guidelines for arterial and collector streets with concrete or asphalt pavement, specifying concrete pavement alternative will be used if construction cost as well as cost incurred for future anticipated maintenance activities is not more than $125,000 per lane. So if my colleagues agree with me, I would feel more comfortable supporting this with that particular line included, that sentence included.
Interject on the last question I asked.
Yes, sir.
We don't have any historical data on that. So how are you going to gauge the future? You don't have any, that's the thing, we don't have any historical data in terms of the cost of concrete maintenance to be able to compare the efficiency.
Well, but that data was used for
The
this.
data we
through
used
this
was,
life
we
cycle.
have data, but it's
Yeah.
not City of Corpus Christi data.
Right.
We used was TxDOT data.
Oh, you use TxDOT data?
Data,
That-
yes.
That real cost
But
program
actual
comes
City of
from
Corpus Christi
TxDOT.
data, we won't have until after we let our contracts.
So I think that should be in because we're moving forward. I mean, we don't have a program to maintain concrete right now.
Yeah,
But we
maybe
will eventually. I mean, I know you all are working on that. So that's why I feel like this needs to be included for future.
Yeah, maybe I didn't clarify that.
But if we're
Yes.
going to analyze it
Yes.
year by year, and if they're 20-year life, we've got a few years to get the maintenance program straightened out on this thing.
Pardon?
Go ahead. Are you finished? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I am.
Mayor, I'd like to call the question.
Well,
There's a
sorry.
motion to call for
I'd,
question, and I think,
Mayor, I have one more comment on this.
well, I think we made a motion for question.
Question. So,
Mr. Molina made a motion to call the question. So,
okay, because I didn't hear a motion to amend, correct? So we're just going to vote on the resolution as presented? Is that what we're doing? Or including Ms.
I think Ms.
Guajardo?
Warlow said if they would concur, and
Yeah.
I didn't hear
So
a
you make a
motion
motion to amend?
Yeah, I didn't hear
Or
a
was there a
motion.
second?
There was
I
a
didn't
motion.
I didn't hear the words motion to amend.
No.
Right. That's what I heard. So I didn't hear a formal motion.
Oh, I didn't hear a motion. I was listening, but I didn't. Okay. Okay. All right. So we made
So
a
then when
we
you
got a
said call the
motion.
question on.
We got a
on what?
motion to call the question. And procedure means we call the question, right?
Well, it takes.
Well, you need a
two-thirds
second.
vote,
And the
yeah.
question is the adoption. The item is a resolution amending the city policies to add policy 28, what it says here. And the motion would be, he's calling the question, you either vote for that or you don't vote for it.
Well, to call the question, though, it does take a percentage vote of the council to get that done.
Well,
You can't
tell
just
us what
call
we
it.
need to do. We got to call a question.
Okay, so if we want to call the question. Sorry, I'm trying to find my, so calling for the question takes 2/3 vote of the council. So it takes a second, and then 2/3 of you would allow us to do that.
All right,
So is that what we
there's
wanna
been a
do?
motion and a second to call for question, so we need two-thirds vote.
Has there been a second?
Yep.
Who seconded?
Smith.
Greg, okay.
If-
So
if you
that
wanna
means to
amend
just
it.
call it for, without the amendment, is that correct, as presented? Is that your intent,
As
Mr. Mo-
presented on
Mr.
item
Molina? I didn't hear you
You
make a
didn't- you
motion.
Didn't make a motion.
You didn't make a motion.
It wasn't a motion.
You said, I'd like to,
If my colleagues agree, but I don't think I
Correct.
heard a motion.
But then there's a motion and a second.
It was his.
Calling for
So
question.
you
for calling the question.
You were talking about discussing this.
Gil said he
We were
wanted to discuss
discussing
something, but
it.
Ben,
I actually had more questions, and Ben said call the
Right.
question.
so
Exactly.
let's call for motion. Under the rules, motion to
I think Ben's trying to
call for
silence us.
question takes precedent, so that we got to act on it one way or the other. So basically, if you want to vote on the motion, then we need a, you want to call roll, or you want me to just take a voice vote?
If it doesn't get
Then you keep discussing it.
So did we have 2/3 on the call, the question?
Well, that's what we got
We gotta
to
vote.
ask for.
Okay.
So, all right, on the motion to call for the question, call the roll, please.
Okay, so to call the question, Mayor McComb,
Yes.
Council Members Guajardo, Hernandez,
No.
Hunter,
I would usually vote yes, but no, because I have a question.
Molina,
Yes.
Roy,
No.
Smith,
Yes.
Barrera, and Garza.
No.
Okay, so that fails, so we're back to discussion.
All right, so now, you want to make your motion, or what do you?
Actually,
I
if
think there are some questions, and yes, my suggestion is to add this line, which involves future anticipated maintenance. It's very
Well,
simple.
make a motion.
But I know you guys don't, well, but there's questions, don't, I don't
Right.
want to, the courtesy is for you.
Okay, Mr. Hernandez.
I wanted to go back to something that Councilman Garza had asked in terms, he only went back to the roads that were done in 2008. But I want to know what the percentage of roads that are on time in terms of actual preventative maintenance or, you know, the overlays for the entire city that are asphalt. How much are we behind overall? Do you have that readily available to you?
I do not have that readily available.
Okay, well, give me a ballpark.
I'm not sure, because I'm still researching all this stuff. We have the PCI information, and I've been trying to compile that information, but jumping in to do other reports like this, I haven't been able to complete
Okay, we're
that.
talking collectors and arterials here, right?
Yes.
We're not talking residential
Not
streets,
residential
which is a
streets.
completely different problem.
Right.
Well, slow down, give him a chance to answer your question.
Right. So I haven't had a chance to complete that, to figure out exactly where we are on arterials and collectors, to where we are if we're keeping track on all the schedules. That's one thing I've been trying to look for, but I haven't had a chance to complete that study yet. Because I want to make sure that we're on target for all arterials and collectors.
Okay, so we don't know where we are in terms of how much, what that is for our arterials and collectors at all.
The goal is to be at 100%, and I'm not sure. I can't tell you with relative confidence that we're at 100% yet. I want to see how far off we are from the 100%. I can guarantee you with good confidence that we're at least close to 80% of that, but I want to make sure where the stragglers are, why we aren't at that 100%.
Okay, looking from that perspective, I mean, you got to look at this in totality, right?
Yes.
The cost for preventive maintenance on asphalt streets is much higher than concrete streets, and we have a lot. How much percentage of it versus concrete streets do we have that we're on the hook for maintaining throughout the streets?
We have like 97% of our streets
Okay.
are asphalt and 3% are concrete.
Okay, so in terms of preventive maintenance, what's more forgiving if you miss those time frames, concrete or asphalt?
The concrete will be more forgiving depending on the situation and for the reason for the failures. But
Okay.
the same thing could be said with
All right,
asphalt. yes.
aside from what would be from utilities,
Right.
if utilities screwed something up and had to go back and fix it, something
Right.
like those lines.
Yes.
Of course, that would be paid for out of utilities.
Yes.
But if just on regular normal wear and tear, which is more forgiving?
Which is more forgiving? The concrete would be more forgiving.
Concrete's more forgiving.
But we need to stay more on top of it with the asphalt. And not just because we have the schedule of 7 years, do we mean we have to do those roads in 7 years? We need to go back and check what the pavement condition score is. And if we are at the point where the pavement scores are dropping, then we need to make sure we do that maintenance on that roadway. So just because we have a scheduled ultra thin in 7 years doesn't mean we have to do it in 7 years. Depending on the conditions, we might be able to extend it out to 9 years. Or in other roadways, we might have to do it after 5 years, depending on what the condition is. The same thing with concrete pavement. We might be able to not do the joint repair for the first 6 years, but other situations, we might have to do it sooner or later, depending on what the deal is. But that's what we're trying to track to see where we're at in that.
Okay, and my last thing, and I think we should amend this motion, but I think we should also separate it out into arterials and collectors and have separate requirements, because I think with collectors, I mean, with arterials, you have higher truck traffic and you have higher average daily traffic. Yes. So I'd almost want to separate this to say 150,000 for per Freese and Nichols recommendation. I think they had 156 on the top end, and then 100,000 on the collectors. That way we have more opportunities to get those arterials, which are more important and have the traffic and the heavy weight traffic on there more importantly. So I'll make a motion to amend the policy to separate collectors and arterials per the Freese and Nichols kind of recommendation. We'll round it up to 150. We'll round it down to 150 and round it up to 100,000 for collectors, along with the language that was proposed by Councilman Guajardo. It was amending the motion to include your language into the existing policy, but to separate it from arterials and collectors. Arterials being 150,000 separation and collectors being $100,000 separation.
She's never made a motion.
No, but
I made it.
She had a proposal.
She had a proposal, and I'd use the language that she used.
Okay, the motion dies for lack of a second.
Well,
Mr. Barrera?
Gonna give it a second.
Who seconded it?
Who
I didn't hear a
seconded the
second.
motion?
Okay, Mr. Barrera?
No.
No,
There
there's
was no
no second.
On Williams.
Now you see why we want to adopt a policy. If we could do this every time we have a street project.
Well, I want to adopt a policy. I mean, I agree with 125,000. I agree with Councilmember Guajardo's recommendation. I just have a simple question. You know, Mark, you and I discussed earlier this morning about we're already having challenges with Staples that obviously that we need to consider. I know from hearing from the contracting community, the environment here is different from the rest of Texas because of the moisture. And so this is kind of uncharted waters, and I agree that we have to do it on an annual basis. So it's a moving target. But I guess obviously Williams is how old? The Williams, Williams is concrete. How old is it?
There were 3 different phases of that project that had different completion dates. I would say the newest one is maybe about 2 years old.
Not including the intersection.
And the oldest one?
It would probably be in that 3 to 4.
And then Staples?
Staples, I believe that was an 08 bond. I believe that was completed
2012.
2012.
December 2012.
Says with our track record, I'm joking.
2012, he says. I'm going to go with what he says.
And then Staples?
No, that was Staples.
Staples. Castores, I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say.
Which portion?
The latest one of Castores was
the oldest
completed about a year ago.
Oldest.
2011.
So I'm just saying that I bring that up just so that way we look at that data, so that way we can determine what we have, because we can't compare this to the rest of Texas. I know earlier the mayor had, or several meetings ago, had compared us to Houston, and we don't have the same weather that they have in Houston. We're not the same environment. So I'm going to let Councilman Hunter ask his question, but I'm going to support the 125,000 on an annual basis, adding the language in that Councilmember Guajardo makes as soon as she makes that motion.
I make the motion.
Mr. Hunter?
Mr. Hunter's going to speak.
Mr. Hunter, I'm so sorry.
You know, I'd probably be best just to let the next person talk, but I have a question on the Freese and Nichols memorandum from April 22nd, 2019. We have our average life cycle cost analysis. Thank you. We have our average life cycle cost analysis, and you have the 35 years for the asphalt, the 36 years for the concrete on there. Now, I know that doesn't take into every consideration of everything that's happened, but based on your averages, I think this needs to be fair on both sides. I think that both concrete and asphalt need to hammer it out and fight each other until we get the lowest cost street possible. I think it's great that we have competition. But it does seem that the asphalt, if you average your numbers there, I think it's page 9 maybe of the memorandum report, but it has your asphalt versus concrete, 35, 36 years. The asphalt's $107.5 per square yard, where your concrete amounts up to 50.5. And we add up all those numbers over a longer period of time, $125,000 in some cases seems like y'all said a little too high and a little too low. I just think it is a little bit too generic. However, I do like the 1 year. But when you have double the cost of asphalt listed in y'all's report, and then we're saying it's only going to be $125,000 difference per lane mile, I just having a little confusion, I guess, on fully understanding it, even though this is our 11th meeting or discussion. So if y'all could help me understand that in the future. Personally, right now, I don't feel comfortable with this. I haven't felt comfortable with any of them, but I do think that we're headed in the right direction. And I do want to commend the mayor and Greg for getting us there, because they were the ones who established the policy. It was not created by the council. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I make my motion now? I make a motion to amend the resolution to add the following after the words construction cost, as well as cost incurred for future anticipated maintenance activities.
Yeah, to amend the resolution.
To amend the resolution.
Mm-hmm.
In the future, because there will be a policy for that.
Aren't we doing that
A
anyway?
program.
The 1 year?
That's what the 1 year.
So then what's the difference?
Well,
Why wouldn't you
They'll have
put,
the information in the year if they've got some.
but what is the difference in putting in there that you are going to include the cost incurred for future maintenance, anticipated maintenance? If there's no difference.
And that's correct. There's no time requirement in this policy ordinance to update it every year.
Well, the city manager.
Can you
No,
turn your microphone on,
I understand
Mayor?
that. I understand that. It's just nothing in the policy saying that it has to be updated every year. And if you could include that in your amendment.
You want to just say that? It'll be
easier.
updated every year. It's a little simpler.
Or we can have this discussion every time we have a street project.
Well, we're trying not to, and
Well,
April
I
of
mean,
17,
I
that
mean,
is
what-
why I brought this up, because prior to that, none of this was ever taken into consideration, so I don't take this lightly, and I understand you want to move
Well, the
on, but
staff-
this is...
The staff has taken, though, they look at this every time they've got a street project and come to us with their recommendation based on this policy. And so far, it's been so good.
Well, we're making it
So
better.
adopt it.
We're making it better. Look, if,
I mean, we've got to realize,
this is not going to, but this is
All-
not going to change anything. This is not going
No, it
to
just-
make them work harder or incur more costs with engineering. This
Hopefully-
is just going to state that what's already in the LCCA, the life cycle cost analysis.
well, but if we put the reason we wanted to put their sanction on it is that we don't have to go through this discussion every time. Prior to this,
That's not
they'd say, well,
what
that's a
it
staff deal, and then we heard the word, well, that's not council policy. Well, now if it's council policy, when they bring the recommendation to us, it's in compliance with the policy. Who did?
I'm being sarcastic on the That policy was adopted without the council voting on it, but y'all did do a good job getting us in the right direction. I had a little sarcasm when I said that earlier. I just thought the rest of my council members would pick it up. That was adopted because y'all listened to two individuals up here and not the council. That's what I was trying to say.
Don't be
Even though
shy.
it's going in the right direction, it was still decided on by y'all without our vote. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I don't know what, if you're pointing at that at me, I don't know that
No.
I mean,
I've made the motion
I'm
and
not
there's
saying
a
that
second.
Have a motion.
I'm not trying to say that the mayor I'm sorry.
Hold on. Let's take a 5-minute recess. I think all of us are a little frustrated and confused and don't quite understand what we're talking about or hearing.
Wish I had the hammer.
Take 5 minutes.
Mayor, we're not going to, we need to vote on the motion.
call the meeting to order. If you wouldn't mind taking your seat, we'll get the meeting called back to order. Now, had a little chance to think, take a couple of deep breaths. Ms. Wartho, would you like to state that in a little?
Yes.
Now, remember, you're dealing with the guy from the Canaries. I'm not in the
Yes,
Redbird,
I'm
so
gonna
I need
keep
you to
that
make it
in
real
mind.
simple.
Canary on this one, too.
Okay, so the motion would be amended. My motion is to amend the resolution to read as follows. If the construction cost for concrete pavement is not more than $125,000 per lane mile, which should represent future anticipated maintenance costs of the asphalt pavement alternative, the concrete pavement alternative will be used by City Council when deciding to award a contract for arterial and collector roadways. This will be updated annually.
Second.
Point of information, real quick, Mayor.
Yeah.
This is to the city secretary. In order to bring this back next week, do I have to vote in the affirmative?
How do you
If I
mean, to
wanted-
reconsider?
To reconsider.
To reconsider, you have to vote in the affirmative.
Thank you.
Okay. We got to know the rules how to play the game. And they do it in Congress all the time, which is maddening. But anyway, all right, from the staff perspective, you've heard the motion. What say you in terms of your ability to do your work and move forward? I really won't have any bearing until you come back at the end of the year, right? But I mean, I think the way I understood it, and I want to make sure I understood it, is the $125,000 includes the cost of maintenance. That's not the case.
Well, it's the differential. So our analysis is that it's about $625,000 per lane mile, the net present value of the maintenance costs on asphalt, and $500,000 más o menos net present value of the maintenance costs on concrete. And since the concrete is lower, that's why we're willing to pay an additional amount for the concrete pavement.
Well, I just want to make sure that we don't get hung up on the
Mayor.
The language, because I heard the motion that including the maintenance
cost differential.
Right, yeah, Mayor, what Councilwoman Guajardo said, we're in agreement with.
Yes.
It's the same thing as what we showed on a summary slide, on slide 9. So what the policy is that when we recommend a project, we're going to look at two things: the cost for the construction, the cost for the maintenance based on that maintenance plan we talked to you about today, and we're going to recommend the cheapest one, the lowest cost one in the end. So it's the cost for the construction, the cost for the maintenance, and then we recommend the lowest cost product. That's the plan, that's the policy. The maintenance is based on the $625,000 a mile for asphalt and $500 a lane mile for concrete, the numbers we showed today.
Okay.
Those numbers will be updated annually.
All right, as long as everybody understands it. The way I heard it was it would be the $125,000, which included the maintenance, and I knew that couldn't be right.
That's the difference between those two numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your motion,
Right, and there was a second.
and Greg Smith seconded. All right, any other discussion? Anybody from the public have any comment? You got something, Butch? If I was a betting man, I bet you'd be talking about concrete. Come on down. And it's only Tuesday. If it's Thursday morning, I know you'd be talking about concrete.
No, I just want to say that there's so many, when you compare concrete and asphalt, there's so many variables. So you can't, it's almost impossible to come up with apples and apples, because there's too many apples and oranges in a bunch. So, and I know there's been some discussion about closing the discussion on comparing the asphalt and the concrete, and I don't think you should start with that approach, because we need competition. So just to say, well, we've had asphalt forever, we're going to continue, we're not even going to listen to anything else. That to me is not taking a positive approach to figuring out. Don't start with who you want, start with what's the best. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think that's hopefully that's precisely what we're doing, is we're getting the biggest bang for the buck and not being pushed into the corner of either going all asphalt or all concrete. If it's, I think today we demonstrated that the concrete won in that particular project. Other projects, asphalt to win. So I think that does allow the, all right, there's a motion. Anything else? All right, not entertain a motion on the amendment. Is that correct, Ms. Huerta?
Correct. There's been a motion and a second. We're just needing to vote at this point.
And
we
Ms.
discussed
Guajardo
it.
made the motion, Mr.
Correct.
Smith made the second.
Right.
All in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, the motion to amend carries. Now, all in favor of item 20 as amended,
A motion and a second.
I'll call the roll in case there's any question.
Okay, is there a motion and a second to approve it as amended? Thank you.
There's a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Okay, so for
Item 20 as
passage,
amended.
for passage of resolution number 20 is amended, Mayor McComb.
Aye.
Council members Guajardo. Hernandez.
I only to be able to reconsider next week. Thank you.
Hunter. Molina.
Aye.
Roy.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Barrera. And Garza.
Aye.
Resolution passes.
All right, thank you. Okay, or we could just have an agenda item, let's talk about the policy every month and not have a street project, just talk about it. All right, first reading ordinance 21 through 24. We're going to get to appointments later. Ms. Huerta wouldn't let me go home without doing that, so we haven't forgot you. Ordinance number 1, who's going to handle that one? Mr. McGinn in planning.
Are you pulling? Because normally we handle 21 through 24 as a group.
On
Right.
the first reading?
Right? Unless there's one in particular that you wanted to talk about.
Well, that'd be
Is that the
fine,
one?
and they're all planning, so you're up, right, for any of them? Any of you have any questions on numbers 21, 22, 23, or 24?
Sorry.
I guess
Yeah,
time's up, we got to
up.
call a vote.
Yeah, you got to call it, Mayor.
So this is the first reading, what basically says if you don't have a question for Mr. McGinn today, you've got a week to give him a call or the city manager, and it'll be on the agenda for next week, is that correct? All right, so I'll entertain a motion on items 21 through 24.
So move.
There's a motion and a second on approval of items 21 through 24. Is there any public comment from the audience? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, or maybe it's good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Scott Hunsaker, and my address is 600 Travis Street, Suite 2800, Houston, Texas. And I'm here on behalf of Corpus Christi Alumina, which has some of the property that would be affected by the disannexation ordinance. I think it's 19-0881. And really just want to communicate the appreciation of the company for the expedited consideration of this matter by the city, and specifically shouting out to Amy Alcorn Reed of the legal department for expediting the consideration of this, as well as the proposed development agreement. The company thinks these will be helpful steps toward the ultimate goal of selling the property in question to Cheniere for their plant. So I just wanted to express that appreciation, and certainly offer to answer any questions anyone may have.
We appreciate your comments, and I apologize, I didn't realize you were here from out of town. We could have gotten to you a little earlier and caught one of our many flights out of Corpus Christi going back to Houston.
No
Or
worries.
you driving?
No worries, thank you.
Mr. Hernandez. That was item 21, I'm assuming, based on the numbers you quoted, 19-0881?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
My
Mr. Smith, I thought you
I was
had...
going to ask if you flew or drove.
Oh, Mr. Garza? No? Everybody's turning their, you knocked their lights out, so you did good. All right, well, thank you so much. We
You
appreciate
bet,
it.
thank you.
Now, you understand this will be on the agenda next week, but this is the first reading. It's 2 reading orders.
Yes, sir.
All right. All in 21 through 24, there's a motion.
Okay, Mr. Smith.
Oh, you had a comment? I'm sorry, come on up. We don't mean to cut anybody off, I just overlooked somebody, I apologize.
It's okay.
Which
I would
item
have made
number?
myself known. No.
Which item number?
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members.
24.
She's speaking on 24.
24?
24,
Okay, item 24. Okay.
yes.
Yes, item number 24.
I know I'm only supposed to keep it like under 3 minutes, but I've waited so long for this agenda since March 19th of 2019. I kept getting bumped and bumped. So I'm going to read it fast, but don't buzz me in 3, please. Just let me finish it.
All right.
Okay. My name is Fallon Wood, mother of Brianna Wood, a victim in 2016. On October 11, 2016, my journey began. Oleander Park became a big part of my journey. I would end the route there after searching for my daughter, sitting at the end of the rocks next to the ocean. As I would talk to her and listen to the sounds of the waves, it gave me peace with each passing day. After 85 days later, my daughter was found. It took me a long time to go back to that same spot where I would sit there. Once I did go back, I still found the peace, but something there was missing, something beautiful. That's when I asked myself, I wonder if Corpus Christi has a memorial garden, something beautiful, something like me, someone like us out there. Sorry. I said, surely Corpus Christi has something. So that's when I went and started to search. I couldn't believe nothing popped up locally. About a month later, I requested a meeting with the mayor and the city manager. Not you. Him. I asked them, why does Corpus Christi not have a memorial? I informed them that other major cities have memorials for loved ones, beautiful ones, just like the one I imagined in my head when I asked myself the same question. That's when I began the crusade of bringing the first memorial to Corpus Christi. I started the organization called Nueces County Victims Memorial Garden, the Garden of Peace, a place for victims' families to be able to remember them other than going to a cemetery, not just for myself, but for all Corpus Christi citizens. We are longing for this project to be complete, to be able to celebrate the life of their loved ones they've lost. These are loved ones taken too soon for many different reasons, from a drunk driver, from a pedestrian accident, from a domestic violence. Victims of a loved one that have passed by an unnatural death, they are a victim. I know that nothing that I do will bring our loved ones back. It is just my hope that this memorial will help provide peace and healing. I knew I wanted to have the memorial at Oleander Park, where I found peace when my journey began. When I went to Parks and Recreation, went over it with them with my idea, they supported it 100%. They worked really hard to find me a spot at Oleander Park. 9 months later, September of 2018, Nueces County Victims Memorial Garden officially became a 501c3. Even though every other city funds their memorials, I have never asked for anything other than just a piece of land. Everything I have created, I have paid for. Fundraisers, raffles, donations, that's how Nueces County Victims Memorial Garden will be built, $60,000 to be exact. It is also my hope to cause awareness for the future generation. There are so many resources in Corpus Christi, but the awareness of them are not out there. People do not know how to get to them. On our website, you will find these resources from various issues, from family abuse, teenager hotline, domestic violence, suicide, drug use, rape hotline, runaway, victim compensation, TDJC. Anyone can request to have a resource and available to the public on our webpage. Everything is on one page. If you need to find a number, it's on that page. I'm not here to ask you for any money. We are here just to ask you for your support. This is something that probably should have already been built here in Corpus Christi for victims' loved ones. They say everyone has a purpose in life. Maybe this is my purpose in life, to bring something from so tragic to make so beautiful. As my journey continues with this new life I have been given, it is again my hope, our hope, you will support it. Thank you.
Thank you. And we appreciate your work and appreciate Parks and Rec working together and making it happen. Any other public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Sally Rousey, and I am the mother to this angel. I feel really fortunate that I have wonderful friends and family that support me constantly. But when I saw Fallon Wood's memorial page, I felt compelled to be a part of it myself. There's no better way to honor your loved one than to be able to have friends, family go and grieve. So I came to show my support and hopes that this moves forward.
Thank you very much. Any other comments?
Hello, Mayor, Council. I am the sister of a murder victim. My brother was taken from me almost 20 years ago. And I do go to his grave, and I do pray, and I do talk to him. But when I'm there, I'm alone. It's just me and my brother's grave. He doesn't talk back to me. When I go yearly to the crime victims events, the tree, the other events that we have to come together, that's when we have a chance to express ourselves, take solace in each other. And some of us need that. All of us, actually. We need that. If you have never been in our shoes and lost someone, that means everything in the world to you. There's no way for me to make you understand that feeling, but other people who are like-minded and who have that grief, we actually bond together. We're like a family, and this would be a great place for us to come together, because not all of us have somebody to turn to. The only person we have is each other. So I hope that you find it in your hearts to please help this move forward for everyone, for our whole city, because weekly, daily, somebody is taken from somebody else. And it would just be an awesome place for us to go to and be able to talk and cry and laugh and remember our loved ones together. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, I know a lot of you probably know me. I founded the Homicide Survivor Support Group 30 years ago. I volunteer all of my time, and I give from my heart. As you can see, there's other children here. There was more earlier that had to leave. This is our future right here. Right here. Sunday, I attended 3 beautiful children's mother's birthday at Seaside. It was heartbreaking, very heartbreaking for these children. These children, they all feel the pain. They know the loss of a father, know the loss of a mother. And what's really, really sad is when we do get together at a funeral, we all try to go and support one another. And we're always having to bring them all to a cemetery. And it shouldn't be that way. These children are so happy that they're all going to be able to go. Matter of fact, one of the children, you want to tell them what y'all want, the kids want?
Hi, my name's Brandon, and all the kids want to see the Memorial Garden and see all the bubbles and all their parents and take pictures.
Yeah. This is a lot of things that when I do work with the children, we blow bubbles. And Sunday, when we were talking about the Memorial Garden, one of the little ones spoke up and said, it's not will we have a bubble machine there? And I mean, but the things that these children think of, let them go, let them be able to be where they can see the ocean, they can feel the sun on their face, to where they can look, and there is a nice picture of their daddy, their mother, their brother, their sister, but they're coming together at a peaceful place, not a cemetery. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, please give us the support that we need. These children, we have to show them they're our future, that there is love, that there is hope out there. And I want to thank you so much for helping Fallon do this, because all of these people are sitting here. Some of them's been with me for 26 years, and this is something that we've always wanted to see happen. So God bless y'all, and please, please give us the support that we need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, can I have your name, please, for the record?
Donna Watkins.
Donna Watkins. Okay, thank you.
Well,
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Monica Garza. I'm the sister of my brother who was murdered on Thanksgiving Day. And if you've never been through this kind of hurt, you don't know. Doesn't matter how long. It could be 30 years, 5 years, 2 months, 3 years. The hurt doesn't go away. It's always there. And pretty much everybody said about the cemetery, that's where we go and celebrate a birthday, at the cemetery, Christmas, cemetery. You know, this would be an amazing place to be, where the water is, where the scenery is beautiful, and that we can celebrate out there. And like she said, these are the faces of the people that are hurt. Most of the people just hear names on the news. So-and-so was murdered yesterday. But we are the faces, and the pain doesn't ever go away. And just ask for your support so that we can have somewhere nice to go, not just a cemetery. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor, council members, my name is Jeff Longino, and I had the privilege of designing the memorial for her. My objective is just to make it a place of beauty, prayer, remembrance, and honor to the victims of these horrible crimes. I appreciate your consideration in this whole effort, and thank you for your kindness and the wonderful opportunity we have for developing a place of beauty here in Corpus Christi. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Anyone else? All right, if not, I entertain a motion to approve item number
So moved.
Second. 24. I think
Are we
we
doing
got,
21 through 24, Mayor? Yes.
yeah, I think we already did
Well, we haven't voted on it.
on 24.
No, none of them.
None of them?
No.
Oh, all right, the motion then for 22, 23, and 24.
Okay. Is there a motion?
All right, there's a motion and 8 seconds for items 22 through 20.
21 through 24, right?
I thought we'd done one, but you're in charge of this thing, so that's good. Okay, make sure we get it done
We
right.
haven't voted on it. We just heard public comment on it, so now we need to vote.
All
Got
right,
it?
well, there you go. 21 to 24.
Yes, sir.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? We've had our briefings on items 24 and 25. We don't have any executive sessions. Anybody want to identify council future agenda items?
Mayor,
How
we
about
still
the
have
boards?
the
Thank you.
boards.
Oh, yeah. All right, Ms. Huerta, you caught me. Okay, back to the board and commission appointments. We got 4 vacancies on the planning commission.
Right,
We got 4 vacancies on the airport zoning commission.
right.
1 on the animal advisory committee, 2 on the arts and culture, and I believe that is a mayor's appointment. Is that correct?
That's right.
And then Board of Adjustment 1, Corpus Christi Commission on Children and Youth.
On that
is
one, Mayor, we're going to withdraw that one. We'll bring that back.
The Children and Youth?
Yes, sir.
You're going to withdraw that one?
Yes, sir.
All right, anybody on,
So may I, just to start with Planning Commission, we do have 4 vacancies, as you stated. And also, as the council may know, as you are aware, the 3 individuals, or the members who serve on the Planning Commission, serve coterminously on the Airport Zoning Commission. So who you appoint to planning will also serve on the Airport Zoning Board. And at this time, we have 2 members who are seeking reappointment, and they are Jeremy Baugh. Thank you. Okay, great.
now wait, which one is this?
This is the Planning Commission, but also it's airport
Okay,
zoning as well.
We're doing those, we're not doing them in the order they're listed. That's what got me. All right.
Yeah, they're listed Planning Commission first, and then Airport Zoning Commission.
So you're wanting the planning commission or the airport commission?
So the individuals who serve on the Planning Commission, those same individuals serve on the Airport Zoning. So we're going to make those appointments simultaneously.
Okay. All right, so this is the planning and the airport
Correct.
combined?
That's
Okay.
right.
You got,
So now we have a motion and a second to reappoint Jeremy Baugh and Daniel Dibble, I'm sorry.
all right. There's a motion and a second for reappointment.
Right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay, so now we have two available slots, 2 new appointments. We can seek nominations for those positions. Okay.
I'd like to nominate Michael Miller and Michael York.
Okay, Miller. Okay, that's 3 individuals for 2 slots. Are there any other nominations?
Well, yeah, I think just in fairness, I don't know, Andrea Francis, we don't want it all stacked with guys on there. We've got a couple of ladies, probably need some more.
Okay, so 4, got Francis.
Anyone else?
Jason.
Sound like Jason Bourne, the Bourne identity. Okay. Anyone else? All right. Which end do you want to start?
Paulette, okay, you want to vote for 2?
Hernandez and Miller.
Hernandez and Miller.
Miller and Francis.
Hernandez and York.
Miller and York.
Miller and York.
Runoff. So we have York is appointed, and then we have a runoff between Hernandez and Miller. Okay, so you want to start with Mr. Hernandez?
Actually, I'd like to start off with Mr. York. York. No, I'm sorry, Miller.
York is appointed. Miller, okay.
Miller.
Okay. We have a runoff. 2 individuals got the same vote. So you started with Mr. Hernandez picked Mr. Miller. Okay. Mr. Roy?
Miller.
Okay.
Hernandez.
Miller. I thought one of those people got 6 votes, but that's all right.
Hernandez.
At least one of them's here.
So Miller's appointed. So York and Miller.
Okay, that takes care of the airport, the
The Planning Commission and Airport Zoning Board.
airport zoning. All right, the animal care, we have one
Yeah.
vacancy.
Yeah, it's a community at-large position.
Excuse me?
The category is community at-large. So we're seeking nominations for that committee, for that one position,
For the
the Animal Care Advisory Committee.
animal advisory.
We are doing that one.
Mayor, I'd like to nominate Jarvis Samaya.
I would like to nominate Marilyn Litt.
Marilyn Litt. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? No?
I'd like to nominate Lynn Valley.
Lynn Valley, okay. Anyone else? Okay, so do we want to start with the voting? You want to start with Ms. Fajardo, or you did last time, so, oh, actually, you were last time. Okay. Yes.
Well, I think we started, you went first last time?
No, Mr. Hernandez did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
You want to go first?
Okay. Mr. Barrera?
Paulette's vote.
Amaya. Paulette was Amaya. Okay, Amaya for Mr. Hunter.
Amaya.
I'll go with the lit. I don't.
Litt.
Amaya.
Valley.
Amaya.
Okay. Amaya is appointed. Now we're on the Arts and Culture Commission. There are 2 vacancies representing the categories of 1 public art, public space, and 1 marketing, and these are mayoral appointments, subject to confirmation by council.
All right. Well, I'd like to submit the names of Jody Perks Hughes with Public Arts and Public Space, and Wallace Eccles for marketing for the 2 vacancies. I'd like to nominate them, recommend them.
Okay, is there a motion to approve these recommendations?
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, all opposed? Okay.
So next we have the Board of Adjustment. And there's 1 vacancy for an alternate. So we're looking for nominations for that vacancy.
I'd like to nominate Gordon Robinson. And Ms. Huerta, didn't we just appoint Michael York to planning?
For Board of Adjustment, it's Dooley and Robinson are the applicants. Oh, I see what you're saying on the sheet.
But York is on here, so does he automatically vacate this or make him ineligible to serve, who we just appointed him on?
Let me double check. I have to double check and see if that was an error in the database.
All right, let us know next week.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think that's a different York.
Is it? Okay.
Because Michael York we appointed is from District 5. This one is District 4.
Okay, let me see. Do you happen to have it, Norma? Do you have the other? But you don't have Michael C. York, right?
All right, well, check that out just to make sure.
Yeah, we'll check it in
And
a
there may
moment.
be 2 Michael Yorks.
It may be 2 different ones. We'll see.
Probably are. Probably 4 or 5 Michael Yorks. And so we're on the Board of,
Right, and there's one, so right now there's a nomination for Gordon Robinson.
okay. Any other nominations?
Just a question.
Yes, sir.
If that is the same one, Mr. Robinson would and if he gets elected, would become the regular member instead of the alternate? Is that the way it would work?
Well, Mr. York is serving on Board of Adjustment, right, already?
Yeah, so
that would, I think we would have to do the other one over, the one that we just did, where Mr. York was appointed.
You'd leave York there, you just take him off the Board of the Adjustment or whatever, or the one that he just got appointed to.
Right.
What was that, the Planning Commission or something?
Planning Commission.
Yeah. So this new appointment would be
Yeah,
Volk.
we can check pretty quickly. Yeah.
All right, let us know.
Okay, let me just
All
double
right.
check it.
Yeah, Mayor, one is Michael York and the other one's Michael C. York.
Right. We just need to double check
Just
the
verify that
information.
that's two different people.
So do you want to continue with Board of Adjustment or wait?
Well, you're looking for
An alternate?
an alternate, so that doesn't have anything to do with Mr. York, so let's get this done. And
Okay.
We got Robinson as a nomination?
Right.
Is there any other nomination?
Move to appoint.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so if you just check on that
Yeah,
York,
she'll
that's
look.
really the only
Thank you.
question we have. Anything else? That it? All right, well, seeing no further agenda items, meeting is adjourned.